All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? We're tackling one of the biggest questions out there. What's the whole point of a human life? Well, the source material we're digging into today, it suggests the answer is all about this really simple but kind of profound idea: value and sacrifice. So it all kicks off with this really basic question. And before we even get to people, let's just think about stuff, everyday objects. What makes something valuable? I mean, is it just the raw material or is there something else going on? And this is a perfect way to see what we're talking about. You've got raw cotton. Okay, it's got some value, sure, but it gets way more valuable when it's sacrificed, right? When it stops being just a fluffy ball of cotton and becomes thread. Then that thread gets sacrificed to become fabric. And then the fabric gives itself up to become, a nice shirt. See the pattern here? At every single step, something has to be given up to become something more. Okay, so if that's how it works for a simple shirt, what about us? What makes our lives valuable? What's the something greater that we're supposed to be a part of? The thing is, the source we're looking at says we usually get this totally backwards, mostly because we don't even really understand what we are in the first place.
So, to explain this, the source gives us this amazing metaphor, and it's really at the core of everything. It asks you to imagine something. You're not just a person living in the world, you're a seed that's been planted in the world. That changes things, doesn't it?
And this is where we break it down. Our body, that's just the shell. It's the temporary packaging. But inside that shell, our soul, well, that's like the software program. It has all the code, all the potential for this incredible, one-of-a-kind tree. The shell's not going to last forever, but that program, that's where the real value is. There's actually a name for when we forget all this. The source calls it Mahietin Gufflet. It basically means you're just completely oblivious to your own true nature. And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? Living your whole life just polishing the shell, making it look good, with no clue about the incredible software that's just sitting there, dormant, right inside you. Ugh. And this analogy is it's perfect. Imagine you go out and buy the newest, most expensive, most powerful smartphone on the market, and all you ever do with it is use it to prop up a wobbly table. I mean, sure, it works, but what an absolute waste of potential, right? That's exactly how the source says so many of us live our lives. We have this massive inner capacity, and we use it for trivial stuff. All right, so if we're these seeds just packed with potential, that brings up a pretty big question. Why is life so difficult? Why does it have to be so hard? Well, according to this, the struggles we go through, they're not random, not at all. They have a very, very specific job to do. And let's be honest, we've all asked this at some point. Why is there so much struggle, so much pain? If we're supposed to grow into something amazing, why isn't the journey easy? The answer we're given here, well, it totally reframes how we look at hardship. The term used is imtihan, which means trial. But here's the key, it's not a punishment. It's more like a workout, a challenge designed specifically to unlock our potential. See, this world isn't supposed to be a paradise. It's a Sarah, a greenhouse. And what does a seed need to grow? It needs the dark soil, the pressure, the rain, the sun. We need challenges for the exact same reason, to build up our inner strength. And if you're wondering why this whole greenhouse phase is so important, think about this. Let's just say we could skip it. What would happen if a soul that never grew, never faced a single challenge, was just plopped right into paradise? It would be like an illiterate person standing in the middle of the world's greatest library. I mean, they'd be surrounded by all this incredible knowledge and beauty, but they wouldn't be able to access any of it. They just don't have the capacity. The whole place would be useless to them. So, you see, the trials in this life aren't there to break us. They're there to build the spiritual muscles we need to actually enjoy the reward. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. Something fundamental shifts the moment we become aware of all this. The moment you really hear and understand these ideas, well, you've kind of crossed a line. There's no going back. Think about it like this. A dry seed can just sit in a drawer for a century and nothing happens. It's just waiting. But the second you add water, boom, the clock starts ticking. The growth process is activated. It's the same for us. Once you're watered with this knowledge, once you really get that you have this incredible potential inside you, you can't just go back to being a dormant seed. And that puts us in a situation the source calls the farmer's dilemma. Look, A farmer knows if they plant 100 seeds, maybe only 20 of them will actually grow into big, strong trees. There are risks involved. But what's the alternative? If they just keep all the seeds safely in a bag to protect them, then 100% of them are wasted. 100%. The only way to get any trees at all is to take the risk. So here's the bottom line. Once that water of awareness hits you, your options get real simple. There are only two. Option 1, you start the tough process of cracking your shell and growing toward the light. Option 2, you refuse and you start to rot. That's it. There's no third option where you just get to stay a comfortable watered seed in the soil. Once you know, doing nothing, that's decay. Which brings us to the final part of this whole journey. And honestly, it's the most courageous part. Making that active choice to break out of your own limitations and just embrace the growth you were built for. Imagine you are a seed, still in your shell. You look over and see another seed starting to crack open. From your point of view, it looks terrifying. It looks like it's destroying itself. You'd probably shout, "Hey, stop, what are you doing?" But from the perspective of the seed that's actually growing, it doesn't feel like destruction at all. It feels like freedom, like finally breaking out of a dark, tight space and reaching for the sun and the air. And that is the ultimate takeaway here. That shell, it's not just our physical body. It's our ego, it's our comfort zones, all those limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. Cracking the shell means being willing to sacrifice those things for something so much bigger. It's not self-destruction, it's a release. It's about finally letting out the person you were always meant to become. So the path is pretty clear, right? Understand your real value, see the hard times as your greenhouse, and find the courage to crack that shell. And that just leaves us with one last question, a question for you. Every single seed has a different program inside it. One might be a towering oak, another a giant sequoia, and another might be a tree that gives the sweetest fruit. So the question for you isn't if you're supposed to grow, it's what kind of magnificent tree are you meant to become?